Hello and welcome to the Metapod Podcast, the Pokemon TCG podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. Destined Rivals just around the corner, Sean, releasing this week. Very exciting times. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's exciting times indeed. Actually, right after this pod recording, it's recording this, the day before actually, so not on a Sunday. For those of you who want that inside lore.
Happy Memorial Day, even though it
Yeah.
won't be Memorial Day for you when you're listening to this.
But we have a league challenge today at my local spot. They moved it right after this recording, I'm going to play the best deck in format, Jake.
You got the Gardevoir plush.
I bought this plushie. So I haven't always played Gardevoir while it's been legal, but that was the first deck I built when Sword and Shield, when Scarlet Violet base came out, was Gardevoir. I ran that to the regionals they did in Connecticut at the time, and I went to the wall. I got tickets, and then I bought this plushie with those tickets. Little did I know at the time it would be the best deck of the entire Scarlet Violet era. Don't at me.
Spoiler alert for anybody who is waiting for us to talk about Portland regionals. Henry Chow was in the finals again of another regionals with Gardevoir, continuing his absolutely historic run. Did you watch a lot of Portland this weekend?
I didn't get a chance to really watch much of it. I watched the first game of the Masters finals though, which was very interesting. So, but I hear there was some talk about also a Toad Scroll deck that was blowing people's minds.
Yeah, there was a Toad Scroll deck that was in Top Cut of this championships. I think it was in the ASIM Top Cut, so it's not posted on Limitless yet. I remember seeing the tweet, so I wish I thought of this sooner because now I want to send it to you, Sean. I want to send you the picture of the tweet.
What is the concept of this tweet?
It is I'm
Is it a
trying
deck
to find
list,
it
or
right
is it
now.
just a
Yeah, it's
funny
a deck
meme?
list. I'm sorry. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
deck list.
It's
It's the deck list of the Ray Chen piloted it through.
Okay.
So I have the tweet now. Thank goodness I wasn't as obsessively online this weekend as I usually am, so I could find this. But when we're ready to talk about deck list, there's the deck
Oh
list for you.
dang. Oh dang. Here, let me.
Which we've got news first before we talk about the deck list.
Yeah.
Because this Toad Scroll deck is awesome.
But yeah, week was good though. Weekend was good. How about you, Jake? Anything interesting?
It was good. It was a little wonky because for anyone who doesn't know, outside of the Metapod, I do commentary videos on Japan championships because they don't have English commentary and it's unofficial and stuff. But I like casting card games, so that's kind of my
I
outlet and stuff. And so there was one this past weekend.
I watched all your
Um,
videos, by the way.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Like,
I
comment,
wanted I
subscribe.
wanted to see what was going on in Japan with One Piece.
It's yeah, it's crazy, and you know what's even crazier is the top so they do top 16, top 8, top 4, and finals, and so usually when the live stream is airing, while it's live, I will make the top 16 video because I want that one out as soon as possible,
Yep.
right? So out here in the West, it starts at the stream starts at 1:15 AM.
Yeah.
And, it's if you watch the Pokemon live streams, it's the same thing. They do a bunch of promo in the beginning. So the real top 16 match doesn't start until 2:30 AM. And so on what was it? Like Saturday morning, I went to bed at 5 AM.
Well, keep in mind
And
that's 2:30 a.m. your time, which is 5:30 a.m. my time.
yes,
So it's the time difference is wild.
the time difference is wild. And so I have been on this slow preparation of trying to catch up on sleep. Because I went from 5 AM go to bed, 8 AM wake up, because that's just what my body does. And then I went to go play in a treasure cup for One Piece. I went through, I played in I won't get too far into the weeds about my deck and stuff because this is a Pokemon TCG podcast,
Yeah.
but I did really, really well with a deck that everybody had to read what my cards did.
I love that.
So it was a really fun time. It was a I'm playing like top 3, one of the most annoying decks in format, which I feel like is on brand, but
I want to say one thing about the One Piece. I'm just gonna hard, the Nami player in the finals hard through. I don't between what happened at the very end, but also I'm just gonna put that out there, Jake. You can take that hot take wherever you want if you want it. Put me on blast, but I think the Nami player in the finals just hard through the last 10 minutes of that game.
I definitely his final defensive
It
turn,
was
I
crazy.
think he somewhat did too, but I think just the nature of overtime rules, because
Yeah.
after I do it live, and so I don't re-record anything, because then like, I know the result, I know what happens, it's not truly, like,
Yeah.
live commentary. Um, I knew kinda what happened, so, I looked up the time rules afterwards, and at the end of the time rules, I guess it kinda made sense, but yeah, I think there was a big mistake that he made.
I also
I
I will just say your opponent was at 0 life and you had an 8K body on board and they had no blockers. Load that bad boy up and go to town. Force the
well,
cards out of the hand. I don't
yeah,
care.
it's just it's kinda crazy because like, for anyone who doesn't know, there's this really good card in the One Piece trading card game called Gum Gum Giant, and he had, like, 3 of them in hand.
Yeah, but
He had, like, 3 of them in hand and a Thunder Bagua, so it was like, he had all the counter in the world,
sure,
but
but
would that have would forcing him the question is, would forcing him to have done that been enough in the next turn to deter him from
yeah,
whatnot. It's just
that's just my
it's not as
opinion.
clear cut as like it's not as clear cut, but it's definitely it's one of those things across any card game or any really competitive setting that you do, is that when you're in the bright lights and you've got the cameras in front of you and you're on the big stage and thousands of people are watching you either in the venue or outside of the venue or both, it's just like sometimes you're just like the adrenaline because
Yeah.
adrenaline is great in sports because it gives you an extra set of energy to that you run through somebody, break a tackle, the surge by for the slam dunk. In card games, you don't have anything to do with that adrenaline,
Yeah.
so it screws up with your brain in a sense.
That's it.
Sometimes, and I truly think it was just a lapse of like, oh, I forgot that I could do this,
Yeah.
which could help. Maybe he was cooked no matter what, I don't know, because in One Piece, when you tie, there is always a winner, there's no actual
Especially
ties,
in
they
a
go by,
finals,
like
that'd be crazy.
yeah, they go basically by, like, prizes left,
Yeah.
is what I'll just say. I know One Piece people are eye twitching at that. Prizes left, then they go by cards in deck.
Oh,
So maybe he
interesting.
just knew by cards in deck
He
that
was
he was
gonna
cooked
lose.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. But, um, anyways, that's enough about One Piece. It was a good weekend, for both of us, but it was a good weekend for collectors, especially ones that maybe frequent places like Costco, because Prismatic Evolutions is getting a new bundle over at Costco. In the next 2 weeks, these should be available. We don't know exactly when or the price of any of this yet, but pictures have surfaced online on the official Costco website, that you can buy these here soon. And I think it's going to be a mix of online purchases and in-person purchases.
Yep.
Um, it is a bundle that comes with 2 Prismatic Evolutions ETBs and 2 booster bundles, which is a total of 30 packs if you're quick on the math. And I'm only quick on the math because Pokey Beach did it for me on the website.
I will say, like, the title of this article, water Pokemon Master. If you happen to listen or see this at some point, it says prepare for mayhem. But given that there's 2 ETBs and 2 bundles, it could have just been prepare for trouble, make it double.
Oh my gosh, yeah, actually, that's really funny. Maybe he said, okay, hold on. If they're doing it for prismatic evolutions, right? And maybe this is a new regular thing because I don't think Costco's done this before. This is a new regular thing that TPCI is doing with Costco.
Hmm.
Maybe, just maybe,
He's
think about
saving
it.
it.
Yeah, he's saving that title for Destined Rivals, because the Destined Rivals packaging is
It's
just
true.
Team Rocket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
which is
Pokemon knows it's the Team Rocket set. It's like technically it's Team Rocket and Heatwave Arena, but we don't worry about Heatwave. It's the Team Rocket set.
it's the Team Rocket set. So maybe he's just saving uh the make it double possibility
Yeah.
for that, which is crazy. Do you have a Costco by you?
Yeah, there's Costco's. I will say, Jake, I went to Home Depot. This is getting into the weeds. I went to Home Depot though, and there was a line on the road to get into Costco for Memorial Day, and I thought to myself, nobody needs savings this bad. This is but yes, there are Costco's near me. I do not frequent them. I do not want to deal with Team Rocket at my local Costco. I don't want to
You
get
don't
into
wanna beat up you don't
no,
wanna fight local scalpers and throw
no.
elbows at them? No?
I have no interest in throwing elbows with my local members of Team Rocket. Hard pass.
I
So,
was gonna say, I don't think I've seen a Costco out here in at least Las Vegas.
mhm.
I could be wrong. One of the Vegas locals is gonna text me and be like, actually,
It's in your
there's a
backyard.
Costco yeah, it's right behind you, sir."
Turn around.
Um Just I love my locals. They're all fun. They're really funny. But this is a cool one, especially if you love bulks of packs. You know, Prismatic is definitely a fun set to open.
Is it?
Um,
Is
and
it
I mean, it's if you get
conceptually?
it. Well, no. Hold on. I will say this: Prismatic is a fun set to open if you don't have to pay 3 times retail,
Sure.
right? Like if you are at Costco and you get one of these, right? It's at MSRP. It's, at a pretty good deal. If you get one of these and you didn't get a black eye, you know, from the
Fair.
local scalpers, um, it is a fun set to open.
Yeah.
I will say that. It is just more often than not a it is just more often than not a set worth opening because of its price, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does have the nickname Traumatic Evolutions.
It is
So, anywho, on to a little bit more news. We did get the numbers this year, Jake, because we've I think covered this the last like 2 or 3 years when they've printed the numbers or like revealed the numbers of
mhm.
Pokemon cards that they've produced. They finally revealed the numbers for the 2024 Pokemon cards produced in a year, and surprisingly, the number of cards printed last year was less than 2023, which
It's
yeah.
to give you context, I'm, like, making a face for anybody watching the video version of the podcast. So, Pokemon TCG printed 10.2 billion cards in 2024, and you are probably thinking, "Wow, 10.2 billion cards in 2024 is a lot." And you're right, that is a lot, but that's 1.7 billion fewer cards than in 2023, a decrease of about 14%. The figure is still higher than 2022 though, because 2022 they did not reach 10 billion.
Yeah,
Um,
and when Jake and I started playing, it was only 1.5 to 2 billion a year. So like, it's
Yeah,
it's five
and
times that.
honestly, that was at the time when you could get Pokemon products at any time, any place, anywhere,
Yeah.
right? At like local big box stores, card shops, stuff like that.
$80 booster boxes, I remember. You could
Yeah,
find
I miss
Team
that, but
Up
we'll never.
and Unified Minds for $80 and it was dope. It was a good time.
Yeah, it that I mean, I try not to think about those days because
It
those will
makes you
never happen
sad.
again. Yeah, those will never happen.
But I will say I do find this interesting because one of the reasons that there was such an increase in the number of cards printed, for anybody curious, this is total
Mhm.
Pokemon cards. It's not Pokemon cards in English or Pokemon cards in the West. It includes Japanese cards. It also includes new markets like China and Southeast Asia and Korea. So the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen Pokemon expanding aggressively into large markets like Korea and China, especially. Um,
Mhm.
and there have been like lots of really cool products that we've talked about, especially ones coming out of China, which have like, unique arts and other stuff like that. But it is a little surprising that it went down given they are now in these new markets. So like I wonder if perhaps it was a factor of they did a lot of catch up printing in 2023 for China and other markets, and then now they've sort of stabilized because I don't think that they decreased their printing for those of us in the US. I don't think there were fewer cards printed in the US as evidenced by the fact that there was, you know, they were constantly printing because they couldn't meet demand. So my
Yeah.
my guess is that the reduction came from other markets. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have also seen, if you talk about March 2024, right, in the kinda year by year stats, Pokemon was printing in 15 languages in 93 countries and regions, but in March 2025, it is in 90 countries
Mm,
and regions. So
way
Pokemon has
fewer.
moved away from 3 countries and regions, and that might not necessarily be the entire, what is it?
1.7 billion.
1.7 billion fewer cards printed than last year, but it's probably a little bit added of a factor, and as you're talking about, like, catching up some countries and regions, like, maybe have slowed down a little bit, right? Because when you're playing catch up, you're releasing stuff faster.
Hmm.
Um, or you're adding more stuff into every single set. There's a couple different ways that you can do it, but it is still a very large number and still it will never be enough, it seems like, especially out here in the West. But hopefully the number continues to go kind of up on that upward trend. It doesn't surprise me that every so often there's just a small decline, right? I'm
Hmm.
sure next year it will be above 11.9 billion. I'm sure it'll be 12 in the next year.
Might be, yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to see when Pokemon hits that plateau
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, it does come down to how many factories do you have that can print your product. Pokemon owns Millennium Printing. They acquired them 3 or 4 years ago, I think, at least
Yeah.
here in the US. And so they have those printers running nonstop, from what I hear. And so, like, they are at capacity. So at least for the US, there's not really more product that they can make currently without opening up new facilities. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, it's interesting. Anyways, outside of the business part of it, one thing that I'm actually kind of excited about because I don't think I've seen these in the wild myself, but Jake, have you come across these vending machines, these like digital screen vending machines in Vegas or near you?
I know that there's one in Las Vegas. I believe it's at like a Smith's, which if you're on like the East Coast, that's like or you're in the Midwest, that's like the Kroger. It's like the Kroger Payless chain, whatever that's called. Um, I have heard that it is there, but I don't frequent Smith's too often, and I don't think it's on my side of town, but I don't want to try to go because I've seen videos of people
Yeah.
like I've seen the videos of people in Las Vegas, like, using these, and I'm like, "I'm good, man." Like, it's fine, but we do know that TPCI has listed over 1,400 Pokemon TCG vending machines operating in 25 states because last year, in March 2024, there were less than 200 machines operating in 6 US states, so going from a little less than 200 in a year or a year and some change, to now going to almost 1,500 is insane. That is a ton, even
Yeah.
though they're just small vending machines and stuff, but, uh, definitely, especially with the boom of Pocket and just this recent surge of the, Pokemon TCG bubble, I like to say. Definitely products at an all-time high and, really curious on these prices too. Do we know if, like, these prices are MSRP,
In the vending machines?
like,
Yeah.
in these?
Yeah,
Okay, it's MSRP in the
yeah.
vending machines. I didn't know if it was, like, something like the stores like Smith's or something, uh,
I don't think that
set the prices of or
I don't think that the stores set the prices because they are stocked by the distributors directly.
mm,
So like there's it's the same way that they stock product at Walmart or Target normally, there's a separate person who comes and stocks the cards aisle at those
Yeah.
stores, and so there's a separate vendor who will come and stock these machines. My guess is that they either pay the grocery stores, maybe they pay them a percentage of sales, maybe they pay them a flat fee just to like rent the space.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what the relationship there is like. If anybody does know, let us know in the comments. I'm curious because it does seem like a little more trouble than it's worth for the stores to some degree because now they have to manage scalpers and stuff. But
Well, I would just imagine that a lot of stores, because like, I think we talked about this topic a couple months ago with
mm,
these vending machines. It was like new policies that Pokemon gave these stores on like scalping, right? If a person is there
yeah,
too long, whatever. And like they also implemented like limitations on how much you could get in one purchase.
yeah,
I think it
I
was.
think it was by credit card
And
number maybe. Like,
yeah, but like for for the point that I'm trying to make is like the stores probably don't care enough to like actually police it. Like they
yeah,
probably don't care enough to notice that Susan is there for 30 minutes with 7 different cards making purchases on these and holding up the line. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that, I guess.
I
They
will.
don't they don't ha they don't get paid enough to care.
I will say, for those of you who don't necessarily know the full history of these vending machines in the U.S.,
Mhm,
there was a time when the United States did have, I believe it was two Pokemon centers officially. There was one in New York, and then there was one near the headquarters in outside like Seattle, I think it was. Um,
mhm.
and I don't think there are any Pokemon centers. Is there still the one in Seattle? I don't think so. But
No, I think it was just a pop-up. The headquarters are
yeah,
in Seattle.
the headquarters are, yes, but I don't think that there's the center anymore. But what happened is they, you know, for whatever reason, they decided to stop supporting the Pokemon centers as proper retail stores like they do in Japan. And then they instead revealed vending machines that were originally only available in that Seattle area. There was like several years where like the vending machines were like a cool thing. If you were visiting Seattle, you might see these vending machines. Um,
Mhm.
I will say though, I feel so sad that this is what we get instead of Pokemon centers. We get vending machines, and like, don't get me wrong, they're kind of cool looking. Like they did a great job. They're really well branded. They light up really nice. Cool. But like a Pokemon center, it does not. And that's a little sad.
Yeah. A Pokemon Center is greatly cooler, big cooler. Also, can we just have a quick thing with, a beef? NAIC, they shadow dropped the Pokemon Center, uh, for
Signups.
NAIC. Yeah, the signups for that. Didn't tell anybody, just dropped it.
I mean, I guess if nobody knows, nobody can prepare the bots.
I guess, but I think the only people who could possibly prepare it are I don't know much about computers, and
Meaning, like the
I don't
people
know
who
much
are
about
constantly watching for that are the ones who are going to benefit from a shadow drop, and not the average
yeah,
fan.
like me,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be able to go to the Pokemon Center because even though I'm obsessively online, I'm not going to notice when that drops until everybody on social media is talking about the drops.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the same way with all the Pokemon Center ETBs. Like, I am not chronically on the Pokemon Center website like that. So by the time I hear
I
about it,
agree.
I'm at work, and then by the time I get a time to get it, so I've just given up on Pokemon Center ETBs. They're cool. Like if you
Yeah,
got it, like props to you. I just for myself, I'm like, can't be bothered anymore.
yeah, I'm the exact same way, and I will keep that because I feel like that continues my, happiness within the Pokemon trading card game. I don't get too overwhelmed. I did get more, retro cards, though, the other day. I
See
don't have
that?
them in front of me.
That's where you find real joy is in the retro
Oh,
market.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I picked up a Team Magma's Clay Doll
Oh,
Holo
cool.
Rare. For
That's
anyone who
dope.
does not know, this card is sick. Anyways, let's continue on. I could talk about this all day.
We have just one more news story, and that is from GameStop. So your friendly neighborhood wannabe local game store, GameStop is planning to implement purchase limits for Pokemon TCG products. To that, I will say, you didn't have them already. I'm so confused. Like, how has GameStop not had purchase? Fine. Um, the point being, Destin Rivals comes out this Friday. So if you didn't manage to get anything from your local game store, which, by the way, your local game store, if they ran pre-releases, are allowed to sell product as of when we're recording this, and
Mhm.
especially as of when this comes out. So if you're looking for it, um, now earlier is better, for like local game stores. But
Yeah.
GameStop's release date is the 30th, and they said that it's going to be a limit one per customer of all like sort of destined rivals products per SKU per product type. So you can get one ETB, one blister pack, one box, one of each basically.
Yeah.
Um, and that limit will apply to all future products moving forward. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Were you
Cool.
surprised that they hadn't implemented this already, Jake?
Yes and no. I think they did have it before, just like everybody else did in COVID when
Yeah.
the first modern boom happened. I'll call it because this is the second modern boom. I feel like when the first modern boom happened, everybody had limits on stuff. But GameStop has really been reeling back in the last couple weeks. It's been interesting on like Pokemon card stuff to where can't do pre-orders anymore online, right? You used to be able to do pre-orders and stuff, but not doing it anymore within the last like 6 months, I think. Now you're limited on the amount of product that you can get um per purchase, I guess you could say. Um
Yeah, like it's a
I think that
one
this is
of each
probably just
item
limited
type.
per purchase. Yeah.
So, like, I
So,
guess if you're able to like leave and come back the next day, you can get more. But yeah,
mhm. It is noted that single booster packs will continue to have a purchase limit of 5 per customer. So if you see like blister sleeves or
yeah,
single blisters, that is going to be outside of that 1 per SKU range. But GameStop also in their picture has a booster box of Destined Rivals.
I didn't know they sold
Um,
booster boxes.
yeah, that I didn't know they did that either. And they don't have a thing on their posts because usually they have like a usually, I mean, if you do marketing, there's like a disclaimer that says like uh products products may vary, whatever, or
Oh,
something like that. Sean, you know the lingo more than me,
yeah,
but they put it on there, so it sounds like some of them might have one. I don't know.
they might.
But
Who
also
knows?
GameStop, another thing, GameStop is not selling at MSRP anymore.
Oh, are they not?
So they are no, they didn't announce it, but people figured it out. People noticed.
Oh,
This is a couple months ago as well. Um, I think very close in news to when they announced that they weren't doing pre-orders anymore. They started listing stuff above MSRP. So your booster
hmm.
box and ETB is going to be upcharged. Maybe not as much as other places, but will be upcharged because they
Well,
have to survive somehow.
yeah, GameStop has to survive somehow. I will say it's interesting because this policy is not. The one per is like very specific to Pokemon, but like the no more pre-orders or I don't know if you've been following the GameStop Nintendo Switch 2 situation that's been going on, but they did pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2, which were a catastrophic failure. I tried to get one.
Yeah.
And they announced that, hey, we will have extra stock available. We're going to do a midnight release. Come get in line. It seems like GameStop has taken the new perspective of we can't win if we become an online first store because we have so many
Mhm.
retail spaces that it's too expensive for us to be an online store. So their new, it feels like strategy is like doing as much as they can to get people to come through the doors, knowing that if you walk into the store, the odds are you're much more likely to buy an additional product here or there. Um,
Yeah.
which, we'll see how that works because you're kind of forcing people into a more inconvenient and unknown space of like, people don't like waiting on long lines if it's not guaranteed they're going to get something.
Oh no, people, I mean, people love it.
I mean, people
People love
do
it.
it. People do it,
Yeah,
but like,
people do it.
I don't know if they love it. And so I think that I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that pans out for them in the long term. GameStop is a it's a weird I have a weird relationship with it. I don't know if they should exist still or not. There's a lot of bad things and good
Okay,
things. But anyways.
I like GameStop. I like GameStop. They just annoy me sometimes, but
But that's all the news, Jake. So let's get into what happened just yesterday when we recorded this Portland Regionals. You alluded to it, Henry Chow being in the finals, but what were the results?
Portland Regionals happened, 1688 players in this tournament. So a good sized tournament as always in these Pokemon Regionals, especially US Regionals. Portland, I feel like, is usually one of the lower end of population
Yeah.
of regionals. Like any West Coast one, I feel like has less people than your typical Midwest, Eastern regional, stuff like that. But in the finals, it was Henry Chow versus Michael Davidson, both playing Gardevoir. So Gardevoir, as I've been saying, is the deck to play. Gardevoir once again continues to do well, but I will say that at least this time on Gardevoir, the deck that did win the event, it is not the Brixty. So
No.
we are off the Brixty train right now, but still definitely one big thing. But Gardevoir mirror match on there. Michael Davidson did come away with the victory, dethroning Henry Chow. Henry was in line as like one of two people ever to win. Was it three regionals in a season?
Might be.
I think
Yeah.
it's either three or four. God, I wish I had this in front of me because I remember because I was able to watch, a little bit of Portland this past weekend, and I remember Chip interviewing. I remember Chip interviewing Henry Chow after he won his winning in for Top Cut,
Mhm.
and he mentioned it that if he won this tournament, he would be one of two players ever to, or one of three.
To do that.
Gosh, dang it. I need to do more thinking and researching before the podcast. But anyways, looking at Michael Davidson's list in here, there is something, and I will kind of cheat and tell you about both Henry and Michael's list at the same time because there is a factor in both of them that were a huge uproar in the Gardevoir space. And that is a green little guy that we've talked about previously, Rabska, John.
Yeah. Oh, I know Rabska well. Rabska is basically if you're willing to play a stage 1 line, it is a
Mhm.
better version of Manaphy or Shaman or whatever that bench barrier effect is. It prevents all damage done, but also all damage from effects. So it will prevent Dragapult damage
It'll
counters.
it'll prevent Dragapult, right? It prevents so many different things from your Pokemon's attacks. It's basically like a bench barrier and that Jirachi combined
Yep.
into a stage 1 70 HP little guy over here. Gosh, I hate Rellor and Rabska. As a Pokemon, they're fine. Um, but anyways, a lot of this list as well is pretty typical, I feel like, of what we typically see with Gardevoir in there running the secret box, which has been the new move, right? Especially in this season, running a heavy line Viona research to get that aggressiveness and to get Gardevoir out as fast as possible, running multiple bravery charms in the list, and going back a bit to 3 TM evolutions in Michael Davidson's list. I feel like 3 is definitely on the higher end of what we've seen of the Gardevoir list, and I think Henry was also running some. We can
I
check
mean,
out his list, peek in there, but
they're the exact same 60. Henry and Michael
oh,
are,
they're the
yep,
exact same. I didn't
yep,
realize they were the
yep.
exact same 60. So, there we go. Now we have a new
They are
60
Michael, Michael,
that we can nickname.
Michael and Henry are testing partners. So
Oh, I
they
didn't know that.
Yeah, they are running the exact same 60. So it was an interesting mirror match because they both knew very well each other's decks, each other's strategies, how they think. I think the 3 TM evolutions, I think it only makes sense if you want to play the Rabska line because
Mhm.
getting that Rabska online as quickly as possible to stop any sniping, you need it out quickly so that there's no shenanigans on your Relor before you can evolve. So I do think that like playing the Rabska line and playing the TM Evo go hand in hand. I think if you like, I'm gonna play Gardevoir today. I am not gonna change my deck to this list. I'm not adding in the Rabska line. I
Boo.
just, for me, it's an interesting tech. I think it probably is more beneficial at a regional level event than
Mhm.
it is at a best of one league challenge. I would rather just run a more straight version of the list.
What do you mean? It'll probably help you beat, Hydreigon
I mean,
that
it would.
terrorizes your local scene,
You're
yeah.
right. It would help me beat that Hydreigon list. Absolutely true. So, but you know how you beat Hydreigon otherwise, Jake? You just Hydreigon and right back with Mew.
Yeah. You
That's how I
Hydreigon
beat
with
it.
Mew, you use Drifloon to blow it up, you use
Right.
Screamtail to blow it up, like
And look, to be honest, Hydreigon might just be a loss regardless of its
yeah, you might
sniping
just have to accept
capabilities.
it, yeah.
So I actually weirdly I think the Rabska is best, or one of the biggest benefits of the Rabska, which we saw actually in the finals, is that it stops the mirror match Screamtail.
Yeah.
So the Screamtail and the fact that it's 70 HP is interesting because it means that you can't double Monkey Dory kill it. The only way that you kill it is with 3 Monkey Dory effects, which,
Yeah.
you know, at least in this mirror is not possible because you're
Yeah,
not.
there's no Turo in this deck, there's
Yep,
only 2 Monkey Dories, right?
exactly. So you're only ever getting 6 damage counters off, which means in a mirror type scenario, your Rabska's safe. So part of me is hoping if anybody else plays Gardevoir and I play against them, they're playing this list, but then I'm playing the triple monkey list, and my triple monkey will be able to take out the Rabska.
Yeah, it's just gonna be really hard to get a triple monkey online, but good luck to you
Hey
in that.
man, I have it. I did
It is
it.
possible.
I did it like 4 times the other night. It was fine.
It is possible.
Yeah, yeah. So, but overall, like it's interesting seeing this list. I've been playing a lot of Guardy lately. I definitely think this is a less bricky list because you're playing 2 Arvin as well.
Mhm.
So that sort of helps you a little bit because you not only have the 4 Iono and the 4 Research, but also 2 Arvin. So no matter what supporter you get going second, you're gonna have stuff you can do, um, which is nice. But yeah,
And also, I don't think you have to change it too much for Destined Rivals. I think a lot of the
no.
City League lists that I've seen are just playing the Shaman instead of Rabska, and then just 2 TM Evos.
Oh, they're
So
playing TM Evo still in the Japanese list.
yeah, they're playing
Okay.
they're playing TM Evo still. I think it's just really good, especially because you don't have the Curlias that have trade
Yeah.
anymore. Just getting Gardevoir out as fast as possible. Um, because like turn 1, like, uh
For Gardevoir.
you don't have to have rare candy for, yeah, Gardevoir when you're playing TM Evos and you're getting them off because you get 2 Ralts on the bench on turn 1, you evolve them into Curlias, and then your second turn, you're just like, "Bam, Gardevoir."
It is interesting. And we could talk about this after we talk just a little bit more about Portland, but like
Mhm,
the TM Evo plays, you're basically sort of deciding when you build your deck whether or not you want to item lock your opponent or benefit yourself with TM Evo. TM Evo is certainly a slightly faster, more aggressive approach. And as you can see, there is no
mhm,
Badu in this list. So the item lock is like, nope, we're not bothering with that. Um, the reason I think that's a little interesting is because when we get into Destined Rivals format, one of the decks that you probably don't have a great time against is Marnie's Grimmsnarl. And I feel like if you don't item lock the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, the odds that they get into their Marnie's Grimmsnarl on turn 2 are pretty high, I think.
mhm.
So I don't know. It's just it's. I'll be interested to see. I haven't played the format, but like, yeah. Jake, is there anything else of Portland Regionals you wanted to mention though before we sort of dive into like our thoughts about the next format, if you will?
I think it's interesting there were 3 Gardevoirs in general, Piper Lapine also being in this top cut, was not running the Rabska
Yeah.
in her list, but, was running like 3 Monkey Dories and really a 3/3 line of everything.
Hmm.
Especially in Gardevoir, a lot of times we see like just 2 Gardevoirs and maybe 2 or 3 Kirlias, but a straight 3/3 line of all that. Let's talk about Owen Dalgard's Flareon list real quick. Because I know that Flareon multiple top appearances within this top cut, and is by and far the best evolution, I think. This Flareon Sylveon deck, or the EV deck, we'll call it,
Yeah,
right? Because there's lots of EVs in there. But
yeah,
in this
it's
list,
great.
you're running multiple different kinds of EVs, including the boosted evolution EV, right? Because if that EV's in the active spot, it can evolve on your first turn of the turn that it is played. You've got the EVEX, right? Because it's a Terra Pokemon, you prevent damage on the bench, and also Rainbow DNA can protect all your EXs as well that are on the bench because you run so many EXs, including Latias, Terrapagos, Pheasantipede, Lily's Clefairy, and Mew in this list, as well as your Sylveon, Flareon. Flareon, I think, is the main attacker in the list, using Carnelian for 280 damage, just do a bunch of damage onto your opponent's Pokemon. And then, as Sean is a big fan of, and we've talked about on the podcast many times before, Angelite. Um, Angelite is a really good move, but Magical Charm, I feel like, is a decent move as well. Just the 100 less is really helpful in stuff like Raging Bolt matchups, or um, whatchamacallit, uh, what's the other one? Goldango, right?
Yeah,
Which has fallen off the face of the earth, actually,
I mean,
surprisingly.
The Goldango, it's a little awkward because the Goldango does technically hit the Sylveon for weakness. Sylveon is weak
Oh, yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah, for
but
sure.
what's interesting about it, for those of you who aren't deep in the judging lore, the magical charm, it reduces the attacks used by the defending Pokemon by 100. Meaning, it doesn't matter what your Pokemon is. If they boss your Pokemon out, doesn't matter. It's on the effect is on their Pokemon, and that
Mhm.
effect applies to any damage that they also do to the bench. So Hydreigon, it doesn't do 130, 130, 130. It would do 30, 30, 30.
Okay. That's
So
good to know.
very important to know. Also because I think that this deck will be pretty good in the next format, which against something like Marnie's Grimmsnarl would reduce the 30 damage that the Marnie's Grimmsnarl does to the bench to 0 as well.
Mhm.
So that Marnie's Grimmsnarl is all of a sudden only doing 80 and no bench damage. So, you know, I wanted to call that out because it's kind of a weird effect that I hadn't really thought about until a couple of weeks ago. So,
It's definitely an interesting one, and as a Terrapagos, big Terra deck, there's
yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 different Terra Pokemon that you can play within this list. You're running Area Zero Underdepths and a Noctowl line. So your Terrapagos is always online to be able to attack in some form or fashion. Running a high volume of Crispin, right? Crispin, especially when you're playing these Terra Pokemon that have these insane energy combo attacks, Crispin is great to be able to get you the exact energies that you need out of your deck, even when item locked.
Yep. I mean, overall, I think this is a really strong deck, and I think going into the next format, it has the potential to get even stronger because you'll have access to something like Leafeon, which I think will make a
Yeah.
big difference. Now, it will change your energy count, which will be a little funky, but I think it's worth it for that Leafeon. And maybe not. Maybe you just rely on the sparkling crystal for that grass energy cost.
And
Um,
I do know that at least it's not in this list, but there was a Flareon player that did decently well that was playing the Umbreon EX. I don't know
Interesting.
if you heard that. I don't know if it was the other person in top 8, um, Taylor Whalen.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, some people were playing that Umbreon EX to get like an extra variety of attacks, maybe like an extra weakness. I'm trying to quickly look up what
Yeah.
Umbreon EX does.
Well, it has the take
Oh
one
yeah, yeah,
prize
yeah.
attack, but
Yeah, the discard all energy from this Pokemon, take a prize card. Which can I mean, especially since you're already using lightning and psychic, right, for some attacks, because that's two of the four energy or two of the three different energy types on Sylveon,
Hmm.
right? If you run like a one of dark energy that you just find with Crispin or you find with energy search, if someone puts you on a weird like 1-2-2-2 kind of like uneven prize mapping. It's like Blacephalon GX way back
Yeah.
when. You just announce the attack and you just win the game at some points. So I think it's a really cheeky one that is really cool, but it's also one that, well, actually, you could surprise, right? Because you could play like an EV down on a turn and attach a lightning energy to it,
Hmm.
right? Because lightning energy is needed for both Sylveon and Flareon. So your opponent might not expect the Umbreon, and then when you're at one prize left, you go ahead, slam that Umbreon down. You go ahead and you Crispin, right? You get the two energies that you need, the dark energy and the psychic energy, and then you use Crispin effect, attach one, and then attach one from hand, and boom, there you go. I like the Umbreon. I like cheeky stuff like that. I would play it if I had the cards, which I don't, and I won't.
Yeah, it's a fun deck. I think it's a. I would say this is a very hard deck to pilot. Um,
Yes.
Gardevoir is as well, but this is hard in a very different way because knowing when the right time to Angel Light, Magical Charm, Burning Charge, and Carnelian, all of those attacks are very relevant attacks in a game. Knowing which one to do when and who to Angel Light as well is kind of funky sometimes. And then even the Terapagos, I will say, like, you can use Crown Opal in the deck because you have that sparkling crystal that can act as your grass energy. So in certain matchups, like if you're up against a Raging Bolt deck, if you Terapagos EX them and you leave your board state in such a way where like, hey, the only way is through this Terapagos and only your basic colorless attackers can do damage. Well, what is Raging Bolt even have the option of at that point?
Hmm.
Like, so I think there's really interesting scenarios, but it's very high skill ceiling, I think. As somebody who did not have the utmost success with the deck, I can attest it is high skill ceiling. It's kind of hard. But yeah.
It's usually what happens with these like box decks, like Terrabox as well. We don't have Caleb Rogerson's list, but Terrabox did
Yeah.
make a top four appearance in that fourth place spot with Terrabox. Any sort of like kind of box deck like this, I feel like is extremely difficult to pilot because you have to know your matchups and know which attacker is key in which matchups and when you need to attack with certain people at certain times, and management of resources, especially when you have energy requirements like you do in, Flareon, Sylveon, and potentially Umbreon and Eevee.
Yeah.
It's definitely crazy.
Uh Jake, I want to spend the last like 10 minutes or so of the pod just talking about Destined Rivals format because Jake and I
Oh,
had
can
a
we first show
Oh yeah.
the Toad Scroll deck
Oh yes,
real
yes,
quick?
yes, yes, yes. Let's do
Because
that.
I
Here,
know
let
some
me
people in our Discord, at least, the official Metapod Discord server that you can find in the description or the show notes. Uh, But the Toad Scroll deck, it's basically a Toad Scroll Ogre Pond deck. So you run a 4/4, or well, it's actually not a 4/4. I'm sorry. You run a 4/3 of Toad Scroll and Toad Scroll EX.
is a one of
Uh,
or a two.
and there,
Yeah.
well, it's three of the EX, and then I believe it's, or
One of the
actually, wait,
baby.
hold on.
Yeah,
I have to
it's
look.
is it a 2/2? I don't know. It's
No,
hard
I
to
think
tell
it's
based on the
I think
picture.
it's 3. Yeah, I think it's 3 of the EX and then 1 of the non-rule box Pokemon, which the the one on the EX, if you do not know the ability on the EX, it has an ability that says prevent all effective attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon that have energy attached. So, especially when you have stuff like Ogre Pond, right? Teal Mask Ogre Pond EX, you can get almost all of your Pokemon to have energy on it in
Yep.
some form or fashion based on that draw ability on Teal Mask Ogrepon. And with 2 grass energies on Toedscroll EX, you do 80 plus 40 more energy for each of your bench Pokemon that has grass energy attached. So quick math, 5 Pokemon on the bench times 40, you
280.
could do 280 grass damage, which we know that 280 is a good number because Flareon does that, right? We just talked about that. And Flareon's a meta deck. So very,
Yeah.
very cool. There's also a couple different options in here, right? You're obviously running Fezandipity and MuEX, Budu because why not?
Why?
Iron Leaves EX is very, very good. I feel like in this, and along with your Toad Scroll EX, there is another Toad Scroll in there from Paradox Rift. This one I think had a lot of noise from us and a lot of people in Paradox Rift when it first released. It has the slime mold colony ability. Cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be put into their hand by the effects of your opponent's abilities or trainer cards. Um,
Yep.
so very, very impactful. Like Night Stretcher is unusable in this format or
Yep.
against this Pokemon.
Superior energy retrieval if you're Goldengo. Yep.
Yeah, superior energy retrieval, not really used in this. So definitely a cool deck. And you're running like bug catching set, right? Which is in so many pre-releases from the last couple ones that I've done at least. So you can get a bunch of these. And how many energies are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
12.
10, 11, 12 grass energies. So very, very cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting deck because it's very straightforward in that
Hmm.
you're attacking with Toad Scroll EX. I guess you could attack with Teal Mask Ogrepon too. It doesn't. Has a halfway decent attack,
Yeah,
um, and you're just sort of wearing your opponent down with these Pokemon that are kind of beefy, kind of hard to knock out in the format. Um, there's no fire decks in the format, so you don't have that to worry about at all. And then every now
not
and
until
again,
my Ethan's
right?
Typhlosion. Ha ha
True,
ha.
true. But yeah, it's definitely a fun deck. It's very disruptive as a deck too because of those abilities on the two Toad Scrolls. So yeah.
And I feel like especially with bug catching set, right? Bug catching set and Teal Mask Ogrepon is such a consistent combination,
Hmm.
I feel like. And you're running Squawkabilly EX, right? So Squawkabilly EX just adds to that consistency of being able to find the pieces exactly when you need them at the beginning of the game to get pretty much your perfect setup.
Yeah. So
Just
Jake.
wanted to give a quick shout out
Oh
to
no,
that
I
list because I know our Discord was huge fans of Toad Scroll.
um so Jake, moving into like Destined Rivals format, because I will say we looked at the calendar of events for Pokemon
Mhm.
regionals, and there's an SPE in Italy this coming weekend, and then the next big event is NAIC, and then that's it until Worlds. So
Mhm.
we have an SPE left in this format. Not to write that off, but like it'll be a slightly smaller event, and I think this format is pretty well sorted.
Yes.
Um, but moving into Destined Rivals, we did our set review. We talked about all these cards. We played some pre-releases. What decks do you think legitimately people should be thinking about for this next format? Like, what are the new decks coming out of Destined Rivals that should be on people's radar?
It's not necessarily from Destined Rivals, but Marnie's Grimmsnarl.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk lately, and you can actually play, even though I don't think the product is officially released yet, you can actually play Marnie's Grimmsnarl on live right now. If you want to, you could build the deck. And I think it's a really neat deck. It might not be the best deck, but it is definitely competitively viable with that Frostlass, with the Monkey Dories, right? Just it's really consistent to be able to get, especially since Grimmsnarl's ability accelerates energies on the board, right? And only needing 2 energies to attack anyways. It just provides, consistency in there and disruption a lot of times with that Frostlass and Monkey Dory combo in there to just spread energies everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, and especially also with the Spikemuth gym, right, there's
Yep.
that stage that adds just another layer of consistency to it to where you can consistently find your Marnie's Pokemon. You're only playing the Marnie's Grimmsnarl as your Marnie's Pokemon, but that combo is just so important with Spikemuth to help that setup and find your evolutions like Morgrim, like Grimmsnarl, right? To be able to evolve whether you're in item lock or not.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't know, the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, the ability is you search your deck for up to 5 dark energy and put them onto
Yeah.
your is it onto your Marnie's Pokemon, right? In any way you like.
Yeah, it's only on your Marnie's Pokemon, but, you have if you get down, 3 Impidimps on turn 1,
Yeah.
right, and turn 2, you candy into Grimmsnarl. Like, you could put 2 on the Grimmsnarl, you can put 2 on 1 Impidimp, and 1 on another Impidimp, and then just hand attach the
Yeah.
other one. So it's like 1 Marnie's Grimmsnarl can set up, like, literally your entire game, it feels like. Now, you probably don't do that every single time because, like, you need bench space for Frostlass potentially, Monkey Dory, the Shaman, right, to protect your little bench guys. So you're probably not doing 5 every single time. You're probably doing like 2, 3
Yeah.
more often than not, because of like hand attachments as well. But the ability to do 5 is insane.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot for a Pokemon that needs 2 energy to attack.
Yeah, I would say like the ability of doing 5 is pretty wild. I don't really understand. Maybe there's a Marnie's Pokemon that I'm not thinking about that wants a ton of dark energy, but from what I've seen, people just usually attach the 2 because you want to because they're in the deck. When you evolve the other ones into Grimmsnarls, they'll go get the energy themselves, right? It doesn't really matter that you're powering them up early other than thinning maybe, but
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you always have access to that dark energy for Monkey Dory too. So, but I think what makes the deck really strong is yes, Shaman is coming into the format, but Shaman has an ability um, which will be affected by the Frostlass, so it will start accumulating that damage. And then if your opponent doesn't get a Shaman down, the Marnie's Grimmsnarl is doing 180 plus 30 to the bench. So it's an interesting deck that like does it's similar in some ways to Gardevoir in that you're like mathing out your prizing at an early stage in the game. Um, and I think the biggest benefit of Marnie's Grimmsnarl is its darkness typing against something like a Gardevoir gives you that
Yeah.
benefit because you have so much consistency that you'll be able to play a boss's order and still have all of your setup that you need between the stadium and the energy and all of that. So I think that's going to be a deck that might have a significant impact on Gardevoir's success if people play it.
Mhm.
Um, and then outside of Marnie's Grimmsnarl, the other 2 decks that I would say coming out of Destined Rivals that have a shot are Ethan's Typhlosion.
Yeah. But Ethan's Typhlosion, I think Ethan's Typhlosion is flexible in a lot of different ways to build it. I
Mm,
feel like just based on Championship League, and personally, I like the best just straight up Typhlosion.
mhm,
Just Ethan's Typhlosion, a couple of those Victinis, and that's about it. But I've seen it paired with Dragapult. I've
mm.
seen it paired with Charizard. You know, there's I think just Ethan's Typhlosion in general, decks can included will be jumping into the meta and be impactful in some form or sense. But there's a variety of different ways. I just wanted to mention that you
No,
can actually play that card.
I hadn't really thought about that because you're right. It only costs 1 energy to do the main attack of the Ethan's Typhlosion. And so, like, evolving it is the hard part. I say hard in quotes because the pre-evolution gets you like everything you could ever want out of your deck, but like the Quilava. But yeah, like needing only 1 energy means that you really don't need to do too much. It's just like when you want to attack with it, you attach the energy. And then outside of that, you can power up whatever you want. So you're right, it is in theory, it does have a lot of flexibility, which is nice.
Mhm.
I do like it with Charizard actually because you have a dark type, really big beat stick that is strong in the late game, especially. And then you also have this whole single prize line that you can really mess with people's prize trade math. And don't get me wrong, Ethan's Typhlosion, what is it? What does its damage max out to? 280?
Yeah, it maxes out at 280, but you have to have all of the Ethan's adventure. The thing for me is that the Ethan's adventure only finds Ethan's Pokemon and
Hmm.
energy, right?
It does. It finds Ethan's Pokemon of any evolution type. and
Yeah.
um, and fire energy, basic fire. But the nice thing about it is if you run this with things like Ultra Ball and you evolve manually into the Ethan's Typhlosion through Quilava, well, each Quilava lets you go get an Ethan's out of your deck.
Mhm.
So turn 2, you could be getting 2 or 3 Ethans straight out. You just Ultra Ball several of them away. Who cares, right? Like that, and then getting all 4 in, having played against it. I don't know if you've played against people who've built the deck yet, Jake, but like having played
No, I
against
haven't
it,
played against anybody. No.
getting 4 Ethans in the discard by turn 2 is not hard.
Yeah.
It's just
There's I
not.
mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it, especially with the Qualavas
Yeah.
that go get Ethan's adventure, right? Just I mean, if you play one, if you're let's just say like you're going second, and this is definitely ideal, but going second, you play one Ethan's adventure, right? Boom, you got the guys in your hand. And then on your turn 2, all you have to do is just evolve into one Quilava, use the ability to go get 2
You go get
Ethan's
one.
adventure or go I'm sorry, go get 1 Ethan's adventure, um, to go get more Quilavas, to go get the other Ethan's adventure, and then all you need is just Ultra Ball.
Yeah.
You Ultra Ball, you discard the other 2 Ethan's adventure, and now you're doing 280 if you like rare candy Typhlosion another one,
Yeah.
which is also completely reasonable because like you have probably multiple Cyndaquils on the field. It's just such a
Exactly.
cool deck. I love little one prize decks like this.
So I mean, I think Marnie's Grimmsnarl, if you're on the lookout for like what should you be looking at your locals or
Mhm.
even at NAIC, I think Marnie's Grimmsnarl, Ethan's Typhlosion. And then I will say, I do think that Team Rocket's Mewtwo,
Mhm.
if people have been able to like build the deck, because it will come down to like getting the cards, and the Mewtwo is probably going to be the most expensive EX in the set.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel
But
like everything else is gonna be pretty cheap,
yeah,
right? Because
the
you're not
Spidops are
you're
cheap.
not even running Pheasantipity or
No.
like Mew-EX or any of that stuff. You're literally just running like Team Rocket's rares and uncommons outside of the Mewtwo.
I will say, I think in the Mewtwo deck, I was like doing some theory crafting in my brain because the
Mhm.
problem with the Mewtwo deck is it has the potential to be a very linear deck. You're doing 280
Yeah.
with Mewtwo, and you can attack with the Spidops as well, but it's because it can accelerate energy and like great, whatever. But I do think that a smart play would be to throw in cards like the Team Rocket's Mimikyu so that you can take out Dragapults. And that way you can play Lily's Clefairy EX so that you give your Team Rockets Mimikyu weakness against Dragapult, weakness against Raging Bolt, um, for your Team Rockets Mewtwo at least. So I do think there's going to be some version of the deck that's pretty good. I don't know if it's like top tier because Marnie's Grimmsnarl being good makes Mewtwo less good, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, because it's weak to dark. So like it's this awkward like I don't know, but um I don't know. In my opinion, those are the 3 main decks coming out of Destined Rivals that we could start to see at NAIC, like net new decks.
Yeah, I feel like net new decks, that's pretty on brand of what's going to be happening. The only thing that I could say outside of that is like Blaziken
Hmm.
EX, right? I think Blaziken is a decent Pokemon, and especially when paired with something like Pidgeot, right? The thing is you have to pair it with other stage twos. And it's not as easy to get out, I feel like, especially under item lock as something like Typhlosion.
Hmm.
I think Typhlosion's kind of the best stage 2 deck that comes out of this set for sure. Or actually,
Maybe
no,
Marty's
Marnie's
Grimmsnarl.
Grimmsnarl, yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends. But anyways, I think Blaziken is pretty cool being able to have that ability of accelerating energies. We see it in a couple different things. Like I know Andrew Mahone was meshing with Garchomp. We've seen some City League results with Pidgeot. We have seen it as well. I think I've seen it with the Mamoswine.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes
Um,
sense.
or is it Mamoswine EX? Is that the Pokemon?
Mamoswine cares about stage 2s on the field, so it would make sense that a stage 2
Yeah.
like Blaziken, like, "Oh, yeah, let's put that in the deck."
And it uses fighting energies, and I think it has an ability once per turn you can go find a Pokemon, put it in your hand, if my memory is correct.
Maybe.
Um,
I don't
so anyways, good synergy with that. I know that Blaziken, similar to Typhlosion, is one that is, flexible in a lot of different decks. Uh I've seen it in a couple different deck lists and archetypes with it, so keep it in the back of your mind.
Do you think that anything takes down Gardevoir going into Destined Rivals? Last little prediction. We'll do probably a tier list before NAIC, but do you think that Destined Rivals spells um I don't know about the end, but do you think Gardevoir will drop down a peg?
I'm not 100% sure if I really think, like, it'll get knocked down a peg in a sense. I feel like Gardevoir is still pretty good, but I think just the meta kinda evens out a little bit in a sense to where, like, just more decks are viable because I think, as you're mentioning, like, Marnie's Grimmsnarl does kinda check Gardevoir a little bit in some form or fashion, so you see, like, other decks like Charizard kinda go up a little bit. You see decks like Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt's kind of, I feel like, been on the up the last couple weeks
Mm.
since we made fun of its absolutely abysmal performance at that one regional. Um, I feel like it's been going up. You had Christian Font on get top 3 with Raging Bolt at Portland. And the deck doesn't do functionally anything different. Um it doesn't care about Shaman,
No.
right? And it has plenty of one prize attackers that are pretty good to be able to offset trades or battle stuff like Gardevoir, stuff like that. So, um, I don't know. I truly don't know what the best deck is, but I feel like it becomes a more diverse meta than what we have right now. That's like my prediction right now.
Yeah, I think another single prize deck as well in Ethan's Typhlosion, like largely single
Mhm.
prize deck, um, probably helps a bit because right now it's really like Gardevoir is that sort of single prize oriented deck. Like technically you have two prizers sometimes, but primarily you're
Mhm.
attacking with single prizers. So I think another good single prize deck sort of pushing the format is probably going to be good because
Yeah.
I think that will also challenge Gardevoir, right? Because Typhlosion's like
Mhm.
170 HP. And yes, Gardevoir can hit those numbers, but like when you're trading one for one with Ethan's Typhlosion, and then they can just boss up your Gardevoir and knock it out with a basic, like that with a single prize, that feels bad. You know,
Yeah.
one
It
black
really
belt's
all just
training.
depends. Yeah, it really just all depends on the Monkey Dory math. I
Yeah.
feel like Monkey Dory in that matchup is huge because
Mm,
you need to be able to pick off little guys.
the little
You need to
Quillavas and things.
Yeah, you need to be able to
Revolves.
take like multiple knockouts in a turn. Iono's probably really impactful as well. Um,
Yeah. That's a
because
really good
like
point.
sure, you can use, Ethan's adventure, but especially in the early game, if you use Quilavas too fast and have multiple Ethan's adventures in hand, and then I Iona them back, it resets. Well, I don't know. I feel like Iona's probably pretty important in that matchup, and then just taking multiple knockouts in a single turn is
Yeah.
the key. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was not as good of a matchup.
Well, that's all I've got, Jake. Anything else on your agenda before we sign off?
That's all for me as well. I'm gonna be trying my best to get Typhlosion cards because I honestly, since rotation, haven't had a legal Pokemon deck just simply because like I just haven't gotten it. Like I still haven't gotten all the cards for Enzorark. It's just kind of been sitting here with a irritating pollen Vileplume in
I
my deck
I
as
will
a
say, Jake,
proxy.
just if you want Typhlosions, just go to your locals and be like, "Hey, who's got extra?" Everybody will raise their hand because it was in half the pre-release kits.
No, seriously,
So,
like I'm gonna ask some friends and then the Las Vegas Pokemon community Discord server of like,
yeah,
okay, who's got a set of Typhlosion and Ethan's adventure? Because I think that's really like all I need to be able to build the deck is just literally
Shaman.
Those two.
You will need a shaman.
I mean, yeah, I need one copy of Shaman, but I'll
Fine.
find one
Yeah,
copy of Shaman.
you'll be fine there.
Yeah, it's just gonna be the evolution line that I really need.
All right. Sign us out.
That's going to be it for the Metapod podcast. Thank you so much for listening and hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week and we'll probably show you some more deck lists next week of what people are actually doing, especially now that online tournaments are going to be happening and stuff like that to be able to pull deck lists from to get you prepared for stuff like NAIC or your league cups or challenges and things of that nature. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.